We are so pleased to introduce our next speakers from the Jane Goodall Institute, Lilian Pintea and Jane Goodall. Dr. Lilian Pintea is the Vice President of Conservation Science at the Jane Goodall Institute and brings more than 25 years of experience in adopting and using satellite imagery and GIS to the job of conserving chimpanzees and their vanishing habitats in Africa. Lilian works closely with local communities, protected area managers, local governments, and Jane Goodall Institute staff in Tanzania, Uganda, the DRC, and Congo to match innovative technologies with local solutions to tackle some of the hardest challenges in conservation. Dr. Jane Goodall was born in London, England, and at the young age of 26, she followed her passion for animals and Africa to Gombe, Tanzania, where she began her landmark study of chimpanzees in the wild, immersing herself in their habitat as a neighbor rather than a distant observer. Her discovery in 1960 that chimpanzees make and use tools rocked the scientific world and redefined the relationship between humans and animals. In 1977, she established the Jane Goodall Institute to advance her work around the world and for generations to come. JGI continues field research at Gombe and builds on Dr. Goodall's innovative approach to conservation, which recognizes the central role that people play in the well-being of animals and the environment. Today, Dr. Goodall travels the world, speaking about the threats facing chimpanzees, environmental crises, and her reasons for hope. In her books and speeches, she emphasizes the interconnectedness of all living things and the collective power of individual action. Please welcome Lilian Pintea and Jane Goodall.
Hello, I'm Jane Goodall, and I'm really glad to be a part of this event celebrating the winners of the Artisanal Mining Grand Challenge. Artisanal mining is a great threat to habitats, to ecosystems, to biodiversity, and to people's livelihoods right across Africa. I think many people know that in 1960 I went to Tanzania, it was Tanganyika back then, to study the behavior of wild chimpanzees, but also ours out in the rainforest, where I came to understand the interconnection of all living things and how each species, no matter how small, played a role in the great tapestry of life. I decided I needed to go to Africa to try and find out for myself what was happening. And I got some funding together so that I could visit, I think it was 6 chimpanzee range countries where they were being studied. And I learned a lot about the threats to their survival, the habitat destruction caused by farming, village expansion, logging, and mining, and how they were caught in wire snares set by hunters. But at the same time, I learned more about the threats faced by so many people living in and around chimpanzee habitat, the crippling poverty, the lack of good health and education facilities, the degradation of the land. It came to a head when I flew over the tiny Gombe National Park. What had been part of this great equatorial forest was now, in 1990, a tiny island of forest surrounded by completely bare hills. There were more people living there than the land could support, too poor to buy food from elsewhere, struggling to survive. And that's when it hit me. If we don't work to improve the lives of these people, to help them find ways of making a living without destroying the environment, we can't even try to save the chimpanzees. And so in 1994, the Jane Goodall Institute, JGI, began our method of community-based conservation, Take Care, or TAKARI, as it's known. A very holistic program. It began with a tiny group of hand-picked local Tanzanians going into the 12 villages around the national park and asking the villagers what they thought we could do to make their lives better. And we started there, helping them restore fertility to the overused farmland without chemicals, and working with the local Tanzanian government to improve health and education facilities. Today it's in 104 villages. But back then, my wonderful friend and colleague, Dr. Lilian Pintea joined our team, and it was he who introduced innovative new technology. And some of this innovative new technology introduced by Lilian has made such a difference in combination with our Takari program. We are definitely improving the well-being and the chances of future success for the Gombe chimpanzees. And now Lilian will go into some of this technology, which I know is very exciting. And then I'll come back and close off.
Thank you, Jane. And I'd like to share with you a few slides and videos. Joining your team in Tanzania 20 years ago was a life-changing moment for me. I remember looking with you in Gombe over this historical aerial photos from 40s and 50s, and overlaying this old technology with the latest cutting-edge 1-meter Icono satellite imagery that just became available and have for the first time a clear view of how forest and human land use changed inside and outside the park. We could see individual trees, streams, houses, farms, and we could see forests and woodlands being restored inside the park because of protection, and realize how much forest was lost outside the park. But most importantly, thanks to Takari and our staff in Tanzania, we were able to connect this innovative satellite imagery, GIS, mobile field data collection apps, cloud technologies with the local communities. We're able to listen and integrate the traditional knowledge and values of landscapes along with the government institutions and decision-making processes. This resulted in real conservation actions and impact on the ground that we can see today. Like in this case, for example, natural regeneration and restoration of woodlands by the local communities in a village forest reserve just outside Gombe, confirmed thanks to Maxar satellite images. This combination of innovative technologies from our partners like Maxar, Esri, Microsoft, Google, and others, with our Takari approach, where local people own and drive their conservation efforts as part of their larger nature-based development efforts to improve their livelihoods, made the use of technology such a success and enables us to scale up conservation efforts across the globe. Thank you, and back to you, Jane.
Thank you, Lilian. And let me just add that in all the countries where we're working with chimpanzees, we have introduced our youth program in the schools around the chimpanzee habitats. This is Roots and Shoots, began in 1991 in Tanzania with 12 high school students. The main message, every one of us makes an impact every day. It's now in 65 countries and growing. The young people are learning that other animals, chimpanzees and bush pigs and pangolins and birds, they're sentient. We're part of this animal kingdom, and it's our responsibility to care for them. We have a program that can be scaled up across Africa to the benefit of people, animals, and the environment. Everything is brought together under the One Health approach, and this means people understanding that the health of chimpanzees, other animals, the environment, and their own health, it's all interconnected. So I want to thank everyone who's contributed ideas and innovative technology to help to improve environments and ecosystems across Africa and around the world. It's when we all work together and when we understand the importance of a healthy ecosystem and all that that entails, that we can look forward to a better future for our children and theirs.